According to the 80-20 rule, 80% of outcomes come from 20% of causes. And in the context of personal finance, that implies that a small percentage of poor financial choices might lead to the majority of negative consequences. So improving key decisions could possibly help you avoid financial troubles. Now, obviously, that all sounds good in theory, but no one's perfect. But although true, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't at least try to minimize bad decision making. So here's a look at a few things that are guaranteed to help you do better. And I don't use that word guaranteed often, so the fact that I'm using it today says a lot about how I feel about this list. So the first thing you're gonna do is review your past money mistakes. The sad reality is that some people never learn from their past mistakes, and as a result, they will do the same things over and over again. And to give you a quick example, some people might get themselves into deep credit card debt, and in order to get out, they might get a consolidation loan or pull equity from their house, or they might even use a windfall and completely pay off their balances. But even though they were able to overcome this hurdle, they didn't learn anything from the experience. So a few years later, they're deep in credit card debt again. And I honestly feel that a lot of people don't intend to keep making the same money mistakes over and over again, but this often happens because they never took the time to figure out what went wrong in the first place. Reflecting on our past mistakes is like looking at a map of wrong turns. It's only by actually studying the map that you're able to pinpoint roads that led to nowhere and directions that took you off course. And once you're able to identify these, you avoid taking the same path in the future. So as you analyze your mistakes, you're gonna ask yourself 3 questions. What happened exactly? Why did it happen? And what could I have done differently? The second thing you're gonna do is practice role reversal. Even if you're not great when it comes to giving yourself good money advice, you might be great when it comes to giving others advice. So if someone comes to you with a problem or dilemma, as an outsider, you're able to view the situation more impartially and objectively. With that being said, if you struggle to make good financial choices, imagine yourself advising someone on the decision that you're about to make. Now, if you like this person, you obviously want them to do well and you don't want them to deal with negative repercussions. So if you have some solid ideas that can help them, you're gonna speak up. So as you're thinking about your own actions and weighing all the possibilities, pretend that it's a friend or relative making the same decision, and then consider what advice you would give them. You should also consider worst case scenarios. Now, I realize that most of the things that we worry about will probably never happen. And when it comes to everyday life advice, the general consensus is not to sit around and worrying about imaginary problems. And that is something that I definitely agree with. But when it comes to personal finance, all bets are off. In this situation, yes, you need to consider the worst case scenario, because making a bad financial decision isn't always something that you can overcome overnight. These decisions are not only costly, they can also have lasting consequences. And you should get into a habit of doing this for the big and small things, but especially for the bigger things, which can include financing a home or car, co-signing a loan, or even quitting your 9-to-5 to become self-employed. And I highly recommend this because it forces you to pause, think, and reflect on the consequences of an action or decision, which is something that a lot of people don't do with their money. And in all honesty, the worst case scenario might not be that bad. But still, at least you gave yourself an opportunity to decide if you're prepared to deal with any possible fallout. You can also use a decision worksheet. And this is a simple 1-page tool that can help you analyze different factors before making a financial decision, or any decision for that matter. It typically involves listing your options, weighing the pros and cons, reviewing the risk, and then considering how a decision might impact your goals and priorities. And I really love these worksheets because they help promote a better understanding of potential outcomes, both good and bad. Because when everything's on paper and it's in your face and you're able to review it, even later down the road, it becomes so much easier to make better financial decisions. And you can make your own decision worksheet. But if you don't want to go through all of that, there is a free template that you can download, which I will link to below. You can also make better money decisions by learning how to control your emotions. Imagine your emotions are like drivers of a car and your financial decisions are the destinations. In which case, learning to control your emotions is like being a good driver, and you're less likely to get lost or make wrong turns on your money journey. But how exactly do you do this? Well, for one, instead of retail therapy, you can find other ways to get your dopamine hit when you're feeling sad or frustrated. Personally, I find that dancing and listening to upbeat music or watching stand-up comedy has the same effect. You can also throw yourself into a project, even if it's only organizing your closet or cabinet. The brain can only focus on one thing at a time, so keeping busy can take your mind off your problems and shopping. And learning how to control your emotions can even help you with the subtle things, which are those that you don't even realize are happening. And the first things that come to my mind are financial peer pressure and the pressure to keep up with the Joneses. Some people fall into these traps and they don't even realize it. But if you're able to recognize these signs and behaviors in yourself, you're not going to allow yourself to get pushed into decisions that aren't right for your financial map. And finally, you can avoid many bad money decisions by immersing yourself in financial education. The bottom line is that you don't know what you don't know. For example, some people carry high credit card balances from month to month because they don't realize how the amount they owe affects their credit score. And for anyone who doesn't know, it can possibly lower it. Likewise, some people will co-sign loans because they don't realize that the debt will also appear on their credit report or that their credit score could suffer if the other person doesn't pay. You can't move forward until you understand what's holding you back. And not only with money, that applies to just about every area of life. But in the context of personal finance, don't let a week go by without some type of financial education.